Hey everybody, Johnny's back. I've been away for a while, eh? Phew, where does the time go? I was kind of a transitional period right now. You get cabin fever and winter blahs and the temperature's cold and you're uninspired and you're questioning this and that. And then, I was sitting around this morning in my Sunday routine, sort of with the newspaper and some political worldview shows on the TV and my iPad and stuff like that. Just sort of that get comfy on the couch routine. And a knock on the door, and Patty says, "Oh, that's Janet. She's returning the vacuum cleaner she borrowed." But it wasn't Janet at all. You know what it was? It was Doug McArthur, my old friend Doug McArthur from the Smalespace days, from 50 years ago, we cut our teeth together in music and music business, etc. Doug lives in Wakefield, Quebec, sort of that Chelsea, Wakefield, north of Ottawa into Quebec region. And he has a beautiful place up there on the river. And he often posts beautiful photographs taken from his balcony and very kind of romantic. And I haven't caught up with Doug for a long time. And he's quite a funny rascal, He's a very good writer, and I said, "My God, the world traveler, the prodigal son has returned." And he said, "Well, I'm not that much of a world traveler, just just Ireland and Scotland and England." And I thought, oh, well, good for you, buddy. So Doug's making a documentary series on I believe, a stonemason that's involved with the renovations and restoration of the apartment buildings in Ottawa. So that's taken him to Europe, and he goes on bicycle trips. He's kind of fit, even though we shared some stories about our aches and pains. Fairly common. We also shared stories about how we lost a few years in pop culture in the 70s. I was telling Doug, I don't know anything about the Brady Bunch or cops on motorcycles or Hawaii Five-0. I said, I didn't have a TV. I was not interested in that kind of stuff. And Doug says, "You too?" He says, I didn't have a TV for 20 years. I said, "Well, you got me trumped, but nonetheless." And this goes back to the days when, if we wanted to watch TV, we went to a bar, and there were a bunch of us that were watching the sort of the impeachment hearings, Watergate, with Richard Nixon and Doug McArthur, and a bunch of us used to go down to the Red Lion pub every day, and that was our dose of television. But that, neither here nor there. What Doug had under his arm when he came to visit was a painting of Smalespace. I'm just going to grab it here. It's in the background. And so Doug shows up with this under his arm. Sorry about the glare there, folks. I guess it's just a matter of my studio being a little too bright. But you can see it's an impressionistic painting, and it happens to be of Smalespace. And when I say impressionistic, I mean like the French impressionists, like a Manet or a Renoir, where they did their cafe and bistro scenes. And it's about the mood, and this mood is wonderful. It's dark, and it's ochre reds, and you can almost feel the smoke in the air, and the joy of the moment. So now we lost track of this painting for probably 45 years, I guess, and so it was really a joy. And maybe it was a sign. I'm taking it as a sign, because as Doug says, I said, "Doug, have you been watching any of this YouTube channel that I've been working on called Smalespace?" And Doug says, "Well, I've only seen 33 of them." So there are only 33. Thank you, Doug. You're a faithful follower, and I appreciate that. But it kind of reminded me that what about the next steps? I got to get on with this. The reason I stopped, and I explained this in another webcast, that the next phase that I want to get into with the Smalespace show was to talk about musicians, and in talking about them, I want to play some of their music. In wanting to play some of their music, I'm not capable of doing it with the setup I have here. So I need a USB mixer, and then I need some other software things, and that all comes back full circle to why I've taken a break. I haven't sort of energized myself to buy that mixer and get into the new technology. But that's now I feel good again, because, as I say, today was perhaps an omen or a good luck sign to say, "Hey, Smale, get back on that horse. Get doing this. Some people might be depending on you." Although I doubt that, because this is purely entertainment and stories, and as I said to Doug, these, when you talk about musicians, there's so much to talk about, because just in the instance of Doug McArthur alone, I mean, he lived back in 1970 when I first met him with. He had a farm in Coldstream, Ontario, and I guess it was in the family somehow. And Doug had invited roommates, and one was Frank Wheeler, another musician, and Gord Lowe. And so his history with me started there. But then, he started playing on stage, and he started touring coffee houses, and he started opening for Stan Rogers, and then he was running the Festival of Friends folk festival in Hamilton, and then another festival up in Pefferlaw, Ontario. I forget the name of it. We just talked about it this morning, of course. And then on to writing humor, on to being very, very, very helpful in carrying the torch and the flame, etc., for the continuation of Smalespace, which when I sold became Change of Pace. And Doug was very instrumental in that phase of the coffee house, together with our mutual friend Ken Palmer. So that kind of, and then I was saying to Doug, people, and this is what I've been told, folks. I don't make this stuff up. I'm just repeating what I've heard here. Is that folks out there, you folks, seem to have an attention span of maybe 9 minutes at the most, they say, and for some 4 minutes. So these artist or musician profiles have to be in that sort of 7-8 minute range, and they have to include some music, some maybe phone conversation to get them, make it part of the narrative and the story. And then I have to talk about the discography and where they grew up and those kind of things. So let's put it this way: the next phase is going to be very, very interesting of stories. But until I get there, I'm just going to keep up with rambling on in my own inimitable way. And I hope that you all are doing fine out there. I'm looking forward to getting back, and just looking at that painting back there just reminds me of how romantic that time was, because I think it kind of captures that the essence. So folks, good to be back. Hope you're all well, and we'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.